The big news story yesterday was from MPI, the fact that our food and fibre exports are forecast to exceed $50 billion. And if you go back, talking about 50 to the 1950s, more than half of our exports were wool, but wool was nowhere to be seen in the announcement yesterday. It's very much, I guess, the dunce of the class, the underachiever at the moment in the primary sector. But is it a lost cause? Our next guest would argue otherwise. His name is Pelle Pedersen. Now, you're originally from Denmark. How did a Danish person end up, Pelle, running a New Zealand wool company?
Yeah, well, Bloch & Behrens was a Danish company, so I started there when I left school in the mid-'80s in a small office in Munich, and late 80s they decided to send me out to New Zealand on a one-way ticket. So it was a Danish company that had been involved in wool trading since 1856. But towards the late 90s, when things weren't quite as lucrative anymore, the Danish parent companies closed down offices, and I ended up getting personally involved in ownership of what was left here in New Zealand. And then in 2008, we sold it to PGW rights, and so that's sort of how we ended up here.
Wool was at an all-time low during the lockdown of last year, and in fact, I think in June 2020, we were not much more than $1 a kilo. It has lifted by about $1 a kilo, but as you and I both well know, that price, even at that level, the price of wool is not sustainable.
Absolutely. Before COVID hit, we were at near all-time lows, and then it dropped another $1, which was just gutting. But reality was the whole world went into lockdown. Companies didn't know whether they were going to have a business coming out of it. So I'm a bit of a stickler for statistics and things. And if you look at the prices when we came out of lockdown, for good colour crossbred shears, they were around $1.70 clean. We have lifted $1 since then. Absolutely, it's not enough. But reality is, it's a good trend line. And I think when you look at the overall picture, one thing is that on the export statistics, China are still lingering at about 20% of our clip. Normally they would take sort of 40, 50%. A lot of our wool normally would go to commercial carpet sectors for hotels and cruise ships and airlines. That sector is still very much waiting to get back into life. So when you take those things into consideration, then I think a lift of $1 over the last 12 months is actually a positive sign. I think it's come on the back of increased demand on the domestic sort of carpet, home interiors, bedding. So I see it as a positive that once we see the commercial side kick in again, and that'll increase demand from China again, then prices can only continue going up.
Well, let's hope so. The market needs it. Look, let's have a look at the current season. We know in the past few days we've had some serious flooding in many parts of the country. I know the North Island in particular has been wet and humid. That's the last thing you want for the colour of your wool, because we're going to get discoloration on a big scale, are we not?
Yes, we are. Post-Christmas, it will be a battle. The quality won't be there. So we're likely to see prices in general slip in the sort of first quarter because of the quality. What it does mean is that when there's very few good colour clips around, they do tend to get a good premium. So I know it's hard to convince growers to go the extra distance to improve on their quality when prices are low, but it's actually at those times the gains from doing so are higher, because there will be a shortage of good colour wools in January, February, March. But it is a concern where the rest of it will go, especially with China quiet. On the flip side, India have actually been quite strong this year, so that's where that type of wool would normally tend to go. So it's just a matter of wait and see. But yeah, it is going to be a tricky first quarter.
Okay, Pelle Pedersen, thank you very much for your time on the PGG Rights and Wool slot. Onwards and upwards. Hopefully the only way is up for the wool market. Appreciate yarning to you.
No worries. Thanks for that opportunity.